Let me look at the Word of God with you prayerfully, believing, as we do, that the Word of God is not history. The Word of God is revelation. The Word is making God present to us. The Word is alive. So in these testing times, the times when we're full of fear, and they're anxious times, they're times when there's conflict out there, they're uncertain times. In many ways, they're times of disillusionment where we're sometimes even hopeless. Times when we might want to run away. Say, well, where can I go to escape? Okay. If that's happening to you, I want you to reflect on the 24th chapter of the Gospel of Luke. And this is a very, very delightful and teaching story. It's a story about two of Jesus' disciples who are totally and absolutely disillusioned. They've lost all hope. They had hoped that Jesus was going to be their messianic person who would solve all the problems, would set the people free, would usher in a new age of prosperity and peace. And they followed Jesus. And then he was a failure for them. He was crucified. Why? Everything collapsed. The whole world collapsed. All their expectations were gone. And they decide to leave Jerusalem. And now the story comes. They're on their way to a place called Emmaus. Now, Emmaus is interesting. Today, it's called Abu Ghosh. And it's 8 miles west of Jerusalem. Now, that's the first thing to keep in mind. They're walking into the sunset, which is symbolic of darkness, uncertainty. They don't know exactly where they're going, but they are running away from Jerusalem, which is biblically, think about that, biblically it's the place of destiny. And as they're walking and talking, Jesus walks with them. He belongs to their journey. He doesn't correct them, he doesn't turn them back. He listens to them. It's the first thing. Extraordinary. Read the story. Jesus walks with them. He goes on the journey with us, even when we're disillusioned, even when we left the church, even when we are mad about everything. Jesus walks with them. He belongs to them in their struggles. He listened to them. And he says, well, what are you talking about? And they said, don't you know all the bad news there is out there? Don't you know what's wrong in our society? Don't you know that everything we hoped for failed? I mean, we hope for something in society. We hope for whatever it is you hope for in your family. You hope for things in your church. And we said, don't you understand? Everything we hope for is gone. Jesus listens. And then he begins to speak to them, and he said, don't you understand that life must have some suffering? You can't understand life without suffering. Life must have some failures. There is no full life without failure. Don't you understand that our expectations aren't always realized? I mean, that's life. Why would you think that life should be perfect? Why do you think the church should be perfect? Why do you think your family should be perfect? And so they listen to Jesus. And then they get to Emmaus. And they're going to have a meal. And Jesus indicates that he's going further. But they say, no, stay with us, Lord. Mane nobis Domine, stay with us, Lord. And he comes in and he has a meal with them. And when he breaks bread with them, all of a sudden, the lights go on. And they say, he disappears, and they say, my goodness, Jesus was walking with us all the time, and we didn't know it. And now they begin to understand their life in a new way. They begin to understand that they must follow a Jesus who suffers, who dies, and who rises to new life. They begin to understand that they must go back to Jerusalem, and immediately they get up and they go back to Jerusalem. It's a great teaching. I have found this to be a great teaching in my life. Jerusalem is my place of destiny, and place of destiny does involve difficult times. It does involve suffering, and it involves resurrection and new life. Keep in mind, we live in the power of Jesus Christ, risen from the dead, who has overcome the world.